Why, hello there, I'm Professor Joel, and welcome to another episode of Planet Scooby Reviews. Today we are covering Strange Encounters of a Scooby Kind. And this episode originally aired on October 6, 1979, and is the third episode of the Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo Season 1. Here we see the gang out near the canyons, I believe, for a hiking expedition where they encounter a glowing alien and its flying saucer. There's also been a billion-dollar theft of nuclear materials. It's a fun little science fiction based episode where Shaggy even gives mention to Luke Skywalker.
I bet you wouldn't treat Luke Skywalker this way.
And that's kind of cool because Mark Hamill had a guest appearance previous to his Star Wars role as Luke Skywalker. It was the Genie episode. So I thought that was cool that they kind of maybe nodded back to Mark Hamill. And then Mark Hamill once again returned to do some voice work on Guess Who Scooby-Doo as himself. I also have to mention that people certainly dislike Scrappy. If you want to look at my YouTube metrics, you can see a 90% drop off in episode views when I cover Scrappy-Doo episodes. Yeah, I got 3 years of probably reviewing every Scrappy episode out there. So I don't think many people are going to watch my reviews, but I'm not in this for the money. I'm in this because I want to review every Scooby-Doo episode that was ever aired, including the movies. It's going to take me years, and I'm happy to do it, and I'm glad I got a few people watching me. It's kind of cool. So thank you for your views. Anyway, enough of my jibber jabber. Let's get on with my review. The episode begins with a police car chasing a car where the driver has stolen millions of radioactive materials from a nuclear laboratory. Inside the car, we see the thief is a glowing alien-like creature.
Those fools can never stop me now or ever.
Out on a hike at night near the canyons, Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy run into the thief as he stops his car, gets out, and summons a flying saucer to appear. Realizing he's in over his head, the police car tracking down the driver leaves the site immediately, leaving Shaggy, Scrappy, and Scooby alone with the alien.
I don't believe it.
Harris, what's going on out there?
It's a flying saucer.
Harris, what is it?
I'm getting out of here.
Wow! Do you see what I see?
At the Blue Pine Motel, Freddy and the girls realize that something is up as there are no other hikers staying at the peak of the hiking season.
We sure were lucky to get these cabins, Mr. Moss.
Lucky nothing. You're the only ones here.
But it's the height of the camping season. Where are all the people?
They come by, but they don't stay long.
Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy soon rush in and explain what they had just seen with the UFO and the alien.
What's going on, Scrappy?
We saw this creature from another planet get onto a flying saucer and fly off. Come on, we'll take you there, and we'll get him!
Heading to the spot where the UFO appeared and discovering the abandoned alien car, Velma finds glowing handprints covering the interior, and Scrappy also finds a construction site nearby.
The saucer was right here.
The car is full of glowing handprints.
The glowing alien then shows up and takes chase after the trio of Scooby, Shaggy, and Scrappy, who barricade themselves in a cabin.
Earthlings,
Pick on somebody from your own planet. Rough!
we'll meet again.
Meanwhile, Freddy and the girls head off to the police station where they learn of the billion-dollar theft and see images of the alien.
Jinkies, $1 billion worth of radioactive metals?
The biggest theft on record.
Jinkies.
Weird, man.
And we left Shaggy and the dogs out there with that?
Real weird.
Frightened for Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy's life, they rush back to meet up with Shaggy and the dogs, and they get trapped in a trap made by Scrappy.
It's the aliens! Ta-da-da-da-da-da! Pop, 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 poppy power!
Outside, Scrappy tackles the motel owner named Mr. Moss and steals his boot. Mr. Moss tells the gang they should leave due to the flying saucer sightings, and then he vanishes on his own.
Take my advice, kids, and get out while you still can.
Although he's not stolen by an alien, he just kind of backs off into a bush. We then meet a lady named Tessie with a mule named Mule. She says she doesn't trust Mr. Moss, and the talk of flying saucers is foolishness. Scrappy also finds a Geiger counter, which is a tool that measures radioactive levels. This Geiger counter is owned by Tessie, who tells him that there's a lot of radioactive activity coming from Mr. Moss's office.
Don't be letting that Moss fella scare you off. You don't know what he's talking about. I don't trust Moss as far as I can heave a pine tree. The name's Tessie. This here's Mule. He's a mule.
Do you know something about the flying saucers?
That's my Geiger counter.
Like, doesn't that have something to do with radioactivity?
Right you are. And it's coming from inside there.
It's Mr. Moss's office.
What could be radioactive in there?
A flying saucer then appears and beams Tessie and her mule away. The saucer leaves and Velma finds some sort of weird device left in its wake.
Coronation?
It's a flying saucer!
No! Help! It's got me!
It's gone!
And so's Tessie.
I wonder what this is.
We've got to get to a phone and report this.
Scrappy then leads everyone to the construction site he found earlier, and they realize no work has been done, but the crane engine is incredibly hot, which is super weird. Everyone heads back to Mr. Moss's office so they can use the phone. The door to the office is locked, unfortunately, but Scrappy breaks in and he busts open the door. Scrappy also finds another device, but it's just a remote control for a television set. The office phone is dead. However, Velma finds a new clue, which is a glowing alarm clock on the windowsill. And this clue is just enough for her to figure out what's going on.
The phone's locked. We can't call out.
This clock was on the windowsill. Come with me. I just might have a plan.
They all head back to the construction site, and Velma sets her trap using Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy as bait. Shortly after, the flying saucer shows up and our trio runs inside of it. The saucer takes off, and after it lands, Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy exit it and find themselves inside a cave. They also encounter the alien and hide behind barrels labeled nuclear laboratories.
Nuclear laboratories.
Not so fast, my friends.
The chase goes on for several minutes until Freddy and the girls figure out that flying saucer was controlled by a crane at the construction site. Taking control of the crane, Freddy is able to capture the flying saucer and the alien. Back at the motel, the police show up and Velma explains that the alien was using phosphorus paint to glow in the dark, which is why they found handprints on the car steering wheel. The hot crane engine was a clue because it meant the crane was being used even though nothing was occurring on the construction site. The flying saucer could be operated by remote control, and it turns out Tessie was behind the whole plant. She used the UFO to distract the police, and while they were busy, she would sell the radioactive material.
I don't understand how you kids figured it out.
It was easy, officer. Our first clue was the glowing handprints in the car, which indicated someone was using phosphorescent paint to give himself an alien look.
The hot engine on the crane in the abandoned construction area told us it wasn't abandoned.
The alien hid the saucer under one of the cement pads and lifted it with the crane. This space weapon is actually a remote control device used to operate the saucer from the ground, operated by Tessie.
She hid in the bushes when we were blinded by the light from the saucer.
So the whole alien disguise was just to scare the police off her trail.
While they're off chasing UFOs, she could sell the metals for a fortune.
With another mystery solved, the gang head off on their next adventure.
Weird, man. Real weird.
Get that damn screwdriver out of my head.
I give this episode a 6 out of 10. It was okay. It kind of veered away from the spookiness and into science fiction.
Weird, man. Real weird.
Which I don't mind because, they've done enough with Scooby-Doo over the years. It's kind of hard to come up with new ideas. So I kind of see why they went this way. And you could see that this episode was inspired by Star Wars.
I bet you wouldn't treat Luke Skywalker this way.
Along with Close Encounters of a Third Kind, which were very popular at the time. And this probably was pretty cool to watch way back when in 1979. Now, it's still kind of cool. Like a 6 out of 10, it's not a bad score. It's just a middle-of-the-road episode for me. You also get a fun little moment where Scooby imitates the Twilight Zone theme at one point, which I thought was cool. alien design was cool enough, but I didn't love it. It's okay. It fits in with the cantina scene in Star Wars, but it's a cartoony kind of alien look. And yeah, it's okay. I didn't mind it. I didn't love it either. Especially given the classic characters designs we had from the Scooby-Doo show and Scooby-Doo Where Are You? I thought, again, yeah, it's okay. The UFO design was also rather generic, and it was just kind of resembled the UFOs we saw in the 50s, like from movies like Plan 9 from Outer Space and other science fiction-y movies from back then. And yeah, I can say that's cool as well. I mean, what really is a UFO? No one really knows. It's an unidentified flying object, right? Scrappy was okay enough in this one. Again, not very annoying. Some people find him, but with him building the traps and finding the clues, he stole a lot of screen time away from Freddy, Velma, and Daphne, which is unfortunate. And, later on, it just becomes a Scrappy, Shaggy, and Scooby show. And I can kind of see why, because there just isn't enough for Velma, Daphne, and Freddy to do, unfortunately. Overall, though, yeah, not a bad episode. I wouldn't mind watching it again. 6 out of 10. It'll probably go up for me. The more I think about it, the more I like this episode. Decent enough plot. I like the little twist. Plot was a bit complicated at some points, but still pretty good overall. Anyway, that wraps up another mystery. Join me next week when I will be covering the Neon Phantom.